Wowzers, episode 41. We're only going through 45 episodes, but this is kind of neat. Episode 41. I got to thinking this week about, so someone from that teaches my Sunday school class. I go to a ladies' Sunday school class that has 2 leaders, and one of them messaged me and asked me to speak for 10 minutes on the hope of heaven. So I got to thinking, what does she mean exactly for the hope of heaven? Like what my hope is when things are difficult, but I have that hope. And there's another person also that was asked to share, and they went before me. We did 2 totally different things, but that's okay. It was good that way, and it just kind of expanded on it. But I only had 10 minutes, and I thought about it for a few days, and then I thought, I'm going to break this up into 3 things, and I'm going to share about 3 things that happened in my life. And one of them was when I was a kid, and my dad died, and I didn't have really that hope of heaven. I wasn't a believer. I had these little statues from a church, I assume, that gave them to me, and I did believe that God existed, and I looked at those as like some form of hope, and then we all became Christians that next year, and then I kind of understood about eternity, and remember studying Ephesians and reading that I was sealed with the promise, and that I wouldn't lose that once I believed, and so. But then Craig and I moved to Idaho, and 2 years later we had 3 little kids, and I had just had my fourth kid. And we found out that our oldest had type 1 diabetes. Times were really hard. They were so hard, I can't tell you. And it was just the unfairness of it. I mean, all I knew about diabetes was just very few things. And it's like, well, you eat too much sugar, which it's like, that's a fallacy. But it's not good for you, but that's not the cause of it. And only 10% of diabetics were type 1. And so then as I was reading up on it right away, that very first day, I thought, wow, that's really unfair. 90% of the people, some of that's from being unhealthy. And here's my little kid, and she doesn't have a choice. And she's basically born with a faulty pancreas. And I just thought, this is really unfair. And I did question God and that. And then the days that followed were really hard. We had to learn how to do shots and blood tests, and she would scream, and it was so hard. And if you have friends, or maybe you yourself are a caregiver for something that's every single day, it is really hard and draining and tiring. And through the years, lots of things have happened, and she's going to be 35 this year, I think. And there's still repercussions. There's still things, and it's an everyday thing. And I remember our pediatrician, who is a Christian. My kids go to him now. But he said, this is a dripping faucet that's not ever going to go away. What can you do? Because we were like crying all the time and just having a hard time. And he said, what are you going to do to cope with this each day, to get your mind off of it so you're not dwelling on it all the time? And I just really appreciated that. And I just remember through the years, just getting in the Word and praying and spending time with people who loved us and loved her and who loved God and could just encourage us. And I think that's, I can remember her at one age saying, when I go to heaven, I won't have diabetes. And I usually start crying when I talk about this, so I'm really hoping that I don't do that. But I wanted to share with you this passage that has really spoken to me for years now. And I just love this chapter of the Bible. And what's interesting is I shared this in my Sunday school class. And then after the 2 of us shared, then the teacher got up, and on the handout, this is the passage they were talking about. And so, anyway, that was kind of a blessing. I thought, I promise I didn't copy that, and I didn't even look at it. I mean, it was really sitting on our table, but I didn't notice it was the same passage. Anyway, so it comes from 2 Corinthians chapter 4, and maybe this is a favorite of yours too, when you've had something really difficult happen. And I actually typed up the parts of the chapter that I was going to share, but I think I'm going to read from my Bible because I have things highlighted, and I would like to share those parts. And anyway, we'll see if I can get through this. So you kind of go down to verse 7. It's Paul writing, and he knows he's going to die. He's been in ministry, and he knows he's going to die. But if you can kind of consider what he's writing about, when he's suffered so much, that gives you some perspective on what's going on here. But we have this treasure in earthen vessels. We're the earthen vessels. That the surpassing greatness of the power may be of God and not from ourselves. We are afflicted in every way, but not crushed. Perplexed, but not despairing. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Struck down, but not destroyed. Always carrying about in the body the dying of Jesus, that the life of Jesus also may be manifested in our body. That's just so amazing. Yeah, we're crushed, but we're not despairing. I mean, we have that hope of heaven and eternity and glory. Eternity, way, way longer than our life here on earth. Then if you go down, that was verses 7 through 10. But if you go down, there's like so much in this chapter, you should just read it. Verse 16 to the end of the chapter, it says, therefore, we do not lose heart. But though our outer man is decaying, yet our inner man is being renewed day by day. For momentary light affliction is producing for us an eternal weight of glory far beyond all comparison. While we look not at the things which are seen, but the things that are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. So we may not see heaven. We see this earth with its issues and difficulties and trials, but we have that hope of heaven, of glory with him. So that was one of the main things that I shared. And then the third thing I shared about was about one of my other daughters who lost a baby at 39 weeks last year. And it's so hard, isn't it? And one of my best friends, their granddaughter just died, who's 2. And it's really hard to understand sometimes when children die. Because you're like, so why did that happen? So you kind of question, what's up with that? Why did that happen? And so that's just really hard. And it was Sunday, it was 2 days after she had posted something about Kendrick, her baby who had died, and how it made her stronger. And I just, that's some of why there are trials, right? But we have hope, but we don't lose heart. So how do we incorporate this into our lives so we can help others? The hope of heaven. We can share it. For months, we've been talking about ways to minister to others, how to lead them to Christ, how to encourage them in their faith so that they can lead others to Christ. We've been talking about all this, things we can do for people. I really think of unsaved family members who don't know Christ, and that they'll be spending eternity, not in heaven in glory where we are, eternal thirst in hell. And we kind of sugarcoat that. We don't talk about hell a lot, not the way they used to do in revivals and such, but we do sugarcoat it. But we shouldn't. Not if we have people that are so dear to us, that we love so much. We would want them to spend eternity in glory, right? And we get nervous. It's kind of self-centered, actually. Because if we really believed that they were dying, and going to hell, we would be more willing to share with them. So I pray for you that you would have opportunity, even this week, to share with someone. And then I had a friend in college who said, put a note on the refrigerator that says, does this count for eternity? Or on a mirror or something. And things that we do each week. How often do we think of eternity? Are we really just wrapped up in our life on earth? So wrapped up that all we think about is like, oh, we're relaxing in the evening. We're going to just kind of chill. We've had a hard day. We're going to watch TV for 3 hours. Or are we really kind of focused on planning an opportunity? Because each day is an opportunity. I sit and watch TV too. I admit to that. But we got to have other parts of our life than just fun and doing things. And our resources, our money, our garden. Are we sharing it with our neighbor? Are we, are we thinking about who needs what? I have so many friends right now having surgery. It's crazy. I mean, it's hard for them, and they have to like sit for like 8 weeks and recuperate, and they're bored out of their mind, and I can take a meal, but, I need to check on them and make sure that, they're not just sitting there frustrated or having a hard time. I have someone who lost her husband a few years ago, and they're struggling, and I just, need to check on people. And, I wonder if there's someone that you need to check on today. This week we can think about that. So another thing we think about with heaven, I was going to read another passage to you from John 14. This is kind of a memory verse these are memory verses for a lot of people. But it's always good to be reminded of that. So I just wanted to read the Gospel of John, chapter 14, verses 1 through 6. Let not your heart be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many dwelling places. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place, I'll come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also. Isn't that kind of neat? Where he is, we're going to be also. And you know the way where I'm going. Thomas said to him, Lord, we don't know the way you're going. How do we know the way? And Jesus said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. And so, that's just that blessing that we have of Jesus coming to earth, going through hard things, being tempted, doing all this for us, dying a terrible, unbearable death on the cross for us, for me, and for you. He died for you, and so that you could spend eternity and have that hope of heaven. And I don't know what trials you're going through right now. Or maybe there's someone just so dear to you, maybe your spouse, one of your kids, and they're not a believer and you're concerned for them. Maybe you had a loved one die and they died without knowing God at all. That's hard, isn't it? It's really tough. A lot of years ago, 30 years ago probably, I went to a couple funerals for some family members, and there was like 15 people there, and the pastor had to look up John 3:16. He didn't know by heart, and people didn't sing when they were asked to sing, and it was just kind of like sad, and it was just sad to me. And the next week after that, I had gone to this other funeral. Then there was like 300 or 400 people there, and they were all sharing about the person and how he had ministered to them and helped them, and that he just loved God with all his heart. And people were singing and sharing, and it's just such a wonderful time. And I just thought, there is just such a sadness when someone doesn't know Christ and they die, because they don't have that hope. So what does the hope of heaven mean to you? What does that mean to you? Do you have that hope? Do your loved ones have that hope? I mean, I guess I'm being a little redundant because I just keep asking that, but I'm just concerned about it. So I pray for you that you will, find that within you that you can share with someone, and me too, with the people I love. And that you'll have a great week, and 4 more episodes. And I'll see you next week. Thanks. God bless.